minutes and be part of our conversation squad.
I worked in Times now for 8 years. Therefore, I do have entertaining stories to tell. And my topic today is how to keep independent media thriving, which means a lot of what I will speak about is on mainstream media, which will definitely keep you entertained, because I believe a lot of mainstream TV channels in India is now all about entertainment and less of news. I gave the topic myself when, thanks to Manthan for actually inviting me. I normally attend a lot of events in Bengaluru, Chennai, and Kochi, but it's the second time, in fact, that I'm in Hyderabad, and I'm very, very happy that I was invited here. And thanks to all of you for turning up here, though it's a long weekend, you still took time out. So when I was asked what is the topic that I would want to speak on, I myself chose this topic, which is why independent media should thrive in this country. And as I was thinking of how to present my case to you as to why independent media should thrive, all the normal reasons came to my mind, right? Why should independent media be there? It's to ensure the democracy is strengthened. It's to ensure that the public is kept informed. It's to help citizens make informed choices, so forth. So all these things I know, you also know. But despite all that, why do we falter when it comes to consciously supporting and promoting independent media? Why do we falter as readers, viewers, consumers? Why do we falter as supporters? Why do we falter as investors? We all know how important an independent media is for the country. So why don't we do more? Then I thought that, making a case by just listing out all these things and saying that we have to strengthen democracy, I may not leave the stage convincing you. Then I thought to myself, so what is the problem? Perhaps we all have some amnesia, right? We don't actually remember the damage that mainstream media has been continuously doing to our country. Today is Gandhi Jayanti, and Gandhi himself has warned many times about how media can damage, media can cause devastation. But the problem with most of us is that we continue to engage with that media in many different ways, despite knowing how badly they've been damaging our country. So today I thought I will start with a few examples to just jog your memory upon what is the kind of damage unleashed. And when I say mainstream media, I just want to remind everybody that I'm mostly speaking about Hindi and English TV media, a few Hindi and English newspapers, but not all. There are honorable exceptions, and we have to accept that there are a lot of journalists continuing to do their jobs, even within these organizations. So I'm going to begin talking about a few coverages which may have caught your attention or not. The first that I want to speak about is the COVID pandemic. Now that's something which impacted each one of us, right? So remember, there were two waves of the pandemic. The first wave when it happened, and India was one of those countries which did not do too badly in the first wave of the pandemic. Now, I don't have a television, I don't have cable TV at home since 2013, because I left TV and I purged myself out of television. I worked there for 8 to 9 years saying, nation wants to know. By the time I quit, I'm like, I don't want to know. Therefore, I do not have television. I have television, I don't have cable TV, but I do keep myself informed. So when the first wave of the pandemic got over, and we sort of did well, I'm going to read out actual dialogues which were presented by anchors. They said, it's the beginning of the end of the COVID. Modi ji's global image has grown. One anchor said, we have won the war on coronavirus. Everybody was celebrating, everybody was happy, and till then, nobody spoke about, is India increasing its capacity when it comes to oxygen production? Is India building hospitals? Is India looking at lists of vulnerable people? Those were not questions to be asked or spoken about. Unfortunately, these media houses, which are watched by millions and millions in this country, kept saying India has won the war against coronavirus. Now, as they were making these announcements and celebrating the victory, slowly and steadily, the second wave was creeping in. Now, when the second wave crept in, a lot of us know, I know personally people who have died during the second wave. I have called different hospitals. I've called ministers. I've called MLAs, whoever I know, saying, can we get a hospital bed? I've called the BBMP. I've called the GHMC, everywhere, asking for hospital beds. I'm sure many of you have done all that. When the second wave of pandemic happened, oh, I forgot one thing. The first wave of pandemic had the Tablighi Jamaat. Sorry, I have a cold. thanks to Tablighi Jamaat, the news channels did not have to look for an excuse as to why the first wave of the pandemic spread, because the Tabligh Jamaat was right there. They did a few mistakes. Nobody is saying they did not. But I want you all to remember the kind of hateful coverage which was there during those days against the Tablighi Jamaat, and by that, an extension to the entire Muslim community. There is a Kannada news channel called Suvarna which got fined last year because there is a group in Karnataka called Hate Speech Beda. This is a group consisting of activists, of students, lawyers, journalists. Do you know what is their job? They continuously monitor television, newspapers, and digital media voluntarily. Nobody's actually paying them to do this. They voluntarily write down what is happening. They approach various boards and they make sure these news channels are censured. Suvarna News, a Kannada channel, for example, got censured because they showed the visual of a young Muslim man. He took a currency note and he wiped his face. So they zoomed into that visual and said, look at how these people are spreading corona. These are devils. This is a word that Anchor used. He has got censured. He has got fined now. But how many such programs just kept coming in front of us and we never paid any attention? So that was the first wave. Thanks to Tablighi Jamaat, we had someone to blame. Then the second wave comes. Who to blame? Because India has already won the war on coronavirus. Tablighi Jamaatis are at home. So who do you blame? Who do you think people blamed? Who do you think these news channels blamed? Any guesses? Sorry? No, they actually blamed the other media, which was full of negativity, and they blamed the state governments. They're very clear in who to blame. They continuously blamed all state governments. Now, I'm not saying state governments cannot be asked questions. Of course, state governments have to be asked questions. But you absolved the entire union government from any question. You kept, and there was this visual of the Prime Minister sitting outside his house or some building thinking. And that visual is continuously played saying the Prime Minister is right in front fighting against the coronavirus. Now, here I want to read out few more dialogues which was said. They said, the biggest contagion is negativity. There should be a Lakshman Rekha to negativity. These are actual dialogues by news anchors. So one person said the biggest contagion is negativity. Who's that biggest contagion? Those are other media houses like ours, which were actually doing reporting, going out to places and seeing, are there migrant workers walking? How many people are dying? For example, the Hindu and the Newsman, which is the organization I run, the Hindu had done extensive coverage on how many people died in India during the corona pandemic. They went from state to state. Two states which they didn't do, we picked up on. One was Kerala and one was Karnataka. These are all, they're all different governments, right? But we checked if the government says 400 people died, the truth was either 800 or 1,200 people died. The New York Times says that India's official figures are that 3 lakh people died during the corona pandemic, but the real figures could be up to 1.6 million. That is the non-conservative figure that the New York Times gives. But we were stopped from giving this negativity. I went to 8 crematoriums in Bengaluru. 2-3 days, I sat down and wrote the register there, and I figured that a lot of deaths were not being counted as corona pandemic, while these crematoriums were specifically for patients who had come from these hospitals where the corona patients being treated. But these numbers never figured. The Hindu did amazing work really putting together these numbers, but whenever we spoke about it, we were told the biggest contagion is negativity. In fact, some of you must remember that when the pictures came, Danish Siddiqui took some of the pictures of the funerals, the mass funerals happening in Delhi. How much were these photographers, these videographers, and these journalists cursed, saying that you cannot be doing this, you are breaching somebody's privacy. It is not about privacy. It was about showing how the government had failed. And you must all be wondering that for someone who doesn't have cable TV at home, how did I exactly know the dialogues that news anchors gave? That's because I did not watch television. I tuned into Newsins by Manisha Pandey on News Laundry. She has very diligently watched all these programs, and I just picked up the dialogues from that. So do go back and watch her episode on coronavirus pandemic and how the Indian media covered it. In fact, my very favorite clip from that exercise which Manisha did is my former boss, Arnab Goswami. He says, all is fine. All is fine 14 times in one show. So Manisha has a small counter running saying how many times Arnab says all is fine. That is how the media covered the corona pandemic, the mainstream media. Now let's look at Adani. Twice Adani has been in controversy in the last 1.5 years. First was when the Hindenburg report came out. At that time, news anchors said, Adani is, my Hindi is not too great, but so please pardon me. They said, Adani षड्यंत्र का शिकार है and विपक्ष की जाल में है. Oh, sorry, Vipaksh is in a jal, they said. So who do you blame when Hindenburg puts out a report suggesting that one of the biggest industries in India, one of the billionaires in our country could have been manipulating stock markets? You blame the media which put out the story. You blame the opposition which is asking for accountability. The second part of the story came recently. In fact, we were one of those publishers who put out the story by two Indian journalists who worked along with many foreign journalists and OCCRP, an investigative consortium. Immediately, there are hundreds of conspiracy theories on who is OCCRP, where is their money coming from, what is their interest against Adani, and who is saying all this? These are not trolls on Twitter, or sorry, X or Facebook or Instagram anymore. These are our mainstream media anchors who have clearly forgotten what their jobs are. Their job is to just make sure there is enough cover given for the government. I'll give two more quick examples. The Manipur incident, where for many, many months, we have been seeing that Manipur, even today, there is trouble in Manipur. Till July 19th, when that video surfaced of that woman running on the streets on a street without her clothes on, men molesting her, that is in fact the first time many news channels switched on to Manipur. There are people who have actually looked through this. There are many news channels which covered Manipur the third time that day. Why third time? Because Amit Shah had gone to Manipur twice before that. So they covered it twice then, and third time when this video came out. That's how much the mainstream media has been blacking out information. Sometimes I'm happy that the mainstream cameras don't reach these places, because if they do, they are going to skew the narrative so badly for us that we will not be able to understand what is going on. But then there is a danger of completely blacking out things, which is what happened in Manipur. In fact, the News Minute, we are an organization that covers only South India. We only cover the 5 states. But despite that, my colleagues told me, we have to cover Manipur. We have to go there. All my young reporters said we have to go to Manipur. And it was a tough choice for me as an editor. Our niche is covering South India, right? Why would I suddenly send 2 reporters to Manipur? But they argued with me that, look, this is the first time this is happening in our country, at least in the recent past, after we came into existence. We have to study this from our lens. What does this mean for us? What is it that we can see as outsiders? So we collected money from our readers. Our readers actually paid us money so that we can send reporters to Manipur. And there are so many such news organizations which send people to Manipur to cover, but the biggest media organizations in the country sent reporters when Amit Shah reached there, and then they covered this whole video incident. But what is the line they took? Why are we politicizing? This is another problem I see. The question that these news channels and these organizations align with the union government often asking, why are we politicizing? Remember the restless protest which happened in Delhi against Brij Bhushan. Every day when the protest was happening, all the news anchors, including women on these channels, are supporting the wrestlers. They are saying, yes, the wrestlers need justice. But why are we politicizing? Why are politicians there? Why can't the wrestlers just protest and go back home? I'm asking, why can't the political parties there? Are political parties there to sell samosas and pakoras? They're supposed to be about people. If it's a people's problem, if wrestlers are human beings, are citizens of this country, they're having a problem, why can't political parties be there? Why can't the media be there? Why can't it be politicized? So first, we have to stop listening to these questions and amplifying it, right? So I wanted to jog your memory about all these things to just tell you that there is so much damage being wreaked by mainstream media, but we forgive them each time. We think, okay, one coverage was problematic, we'll keep watching, we'll keep engaging. But at some point of time, we have to ask, how much is too much for us? So this is the problem which the mainstream media creates. Now let me tell you what happens if there was no independent media in this country. I want to repeat again, there are honorable exceptions within the mainstream media who do excellent work. The Pegasus software, which was brought from Israel to India to monitor, to keep tab of opposition, of journalists, of activists, the only Indian media house which was part of that publication of that story, of that investigation, was The Wire, an independent media organization. Article 14, which writes extensively on human rights, wrote a very detailed story which actually made people shocked as to how the Supreme Court is pushing back cases which are very important simply because there is a political agenda and the court is agreeing to that agenda. Cases on electoral bonds and so many other things have not been given any importance by the Supreme Court because they too are playing to the agenda. The Quint. You should read stories by a reporter called Poonam in The Quint. She is perhaps the only journalist in India who has done extensive reporting on how EVMs are questionable in this country. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. She has written extensively about EVMs, about the electoral process. The News Laundry has done very good reporting on the Hathras rape case. If not for the News Laundry, we would not have known what is the kind of charge sheet which was against Siddiq Kapan, the Malayali journalist who was jailed for many months in an Uttar Pradesh jail. The News Minute, my own organization, this year, when the Karnataka elections were going on, we focused on one story, which we actually broke last year, on how we actually stumbled upon a private agency called Chillume. The private agency had this is going to be happening in Telangana when the elections come here. So it would be nice if you all will also pay some attention to these things happening on the ground. We saw that there's a private agency which had got a government order to do election analysis and election awareness, which basically means the private party goes to a house and say, please cast your vote. Instead, what was the private party doing? They created a company which was selling data to politicians. We found BJP MLA who had bought that data. They had a private app called Digital Samiksha. So they would go to every voter and not simply ask for their age or name. They were asking, what is your voting preference? Who did you vote for last time? Who will you vote? They were basically profiling voters. And they were putting this on a private app. And we found one constituency in Bengaluru. It's called the Shivaji Nagar constituency, which has the highest population of Muslims and Dalits. A random group of supporters of you-know-who went and gave a complaint saying that 22,000 people have to be deleted from the voter list because they simply do not exist or they do not stay in that place. We went from house to house and figured out that a lot of people were staying. But it was an exercise to delete a lot of Muslim and Dalit voters from constituencies. And eventually, 7,000 voters were deleted from Shivaji Nagar constituency because there was a way for the Congress candidate won from there. But I believe that this is a model which will be replicated across states, not just by one party, perhaps by other parties, where they pick up 7 to 10 constituencies, they make sure votes are deleted, and that's how they will propel elections or change elections. So these are the stories which the independent media brought to you. If not for independent media, we would not have had these stories. So on one side, I just wanted to illustrate the damage which the mainstream media did, and on the other side, the kind of work that the independent media did. So yes, we need independent media to thrive, to strengthen our democracy. We need independent media to keep our citizens informed. But there are more things. Independent media is also about niche. It is about diversity. We all cater to a certain niche. For example, the News Minute is for the 5 southern states. Do we do enough? Clearly not. We should do much more. We have to cover more towns, more villages, but we do not have the staff, we do not have the numbers to do that. Well, if we did, we would have done more coverage. But with our limited resources, we do this much coverage. The Scroll has its niche. Article 14 has its niche. Each of these publications which I spoke about have their own niche. We also focus on diversity. News for a long time has been in the hold of primarily upper caste men or upper caste women like me. We are, of course, second in the ladder. But today, news is about making more and more people write, making more and more people journalists. And I think alternate and independent media in India is definitely paying attention to ensure that the news which comes to you is from a diverse number of people. We have all kinds of writers coming and writing, people who have rebellious thoughts, people who are always about dissent. You may think, why are you making a controversy about this? But why not, is the question I ask. personal is political, right? So it matters to each person and everybody's perspective differs. Also, I think independent media in India is not in the business to please people. When I used to work for a news channel, we were told that we can't do certain stories about a certain political family because they own cable TV networks, and sometimes if we do negative stories, they will cut us off the cable TV network. So this is just one example. There was one editor who used to tell the reporters that we are writing the story for the man who's playing golf in the Karnataka Golf Club, which means elite people who can actually pay money for reading that news, right? So you're catering to that audience and you're always trying to keep them pleased. But I believe a lot of independent media is not in the business to please, which is why it's upon us, upon organizations like mine, to also question so-called liberal and progressive governments much more than I would question a BJP. I would question a DMK, an ARDMK, YSRCP, TDP, or the party here, BRS. I keep getting confused with TRS, BRS, and all the other parties more because they have promised us liberal, progressive, secular governments. So we are not in the business to please. We have to ask questions to each and every person. End of the day, it's all about when you go and have a drink with your friend or you are having a party at home and there's an argument and you don't have facts on your side, right? I believe we are those media houses which are empowering you with answers. Tomorrow, if you're having a fight on why is one India, one election not a good thing, you would have read 5 articles in these independent media houses, and that empowers you to take that conversation forward. So I believe that we are, in our small, limited ways, making sure that we are allowing good people to win arguments. And sometimes people ask me, what is the use of all this? Millions of people are reading, consuming that other mainstream media. You guys are really small, like 2 million, 3 million, some people have 10 million. But I believe that society changes one story at a time. There is no way that we can bring in change just by doing one story or with one organization. But we keep at it. Sometimes we will not even see change, but we still keep at it because that's what we have been told. Modi has politicized the country like no other politician has, or at least that's what I believe. Today, even those people who said, I'm neutral, unbiased, I'm apolitical, everybody is speaking about politics. Whether you agree with them or not, everybody is political. And in this whole discourse about politics, I think we are also discussing about what is our idea of India. And I also believe as media houses, we are there to tell you what that idea of India should be, to remind us and you about this idea of India. When I used to work in Times Now, I know that I refer to Times Now quite a bit, but there was this dialogue which the editor used to say. This is something which is stuck in my brain. So he said, when India's history is written, Times Now will be there. It will be written in India's history. The Times Now did this contribution. So I felt very proud that I will be there in history books as that reporter in Times Now who was on the road every day, covering some scam or covering a pothole, whatever it is. I was there every day. But today, I don't want to be in history books, but I do know that if the ship sinks, when a ship sinks, you say, right, you put a message in the bottle and you put that in the water so that somebody will discover. We will be that message in the bottle. We will be those people who gave you those stories. So I would finally like to say that when we listened, I know that Siddharth Varadarajan has spoken here, Ravish Kumar has spoken in Manthan, I saw Faye D'Souza. These are all people who have left mainstream media and started something on their own. I'm someone who worked for mainstream media. I started something on my own. I know that a lot of people wish to support, they do support, but I think we require more. And therefore, this is also a request to everyone sitting here that in whatever ways possible, by sharing stories, by simply speaking about us, by subscribing, becoming members, most of us are now depending upon our readers to actually give us money to sustain, thrive, survive. So this is also my request that today when you go back, do think, maybe I become member of one media house every month or once in every 2 months. It's a policy that I have decided I will execute as long as I have money so that I do help the media in some form or the other. So do think about what you can do as citizens to help the media back, which is trying to help you. And I hope I have made a considerably strong case for why independent media should thrive in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhanya. Thank you, Dhanya. I'm sure you'd like to take a few questions from the audience. So we open the session for questions. I see one hand in the last but third row at the back. Where are our volunteers? Middle section, last but third row. Not you. First him and then after you. You'd like to take all the questions together or one after the other?
I can take a few questions together. I can take a few questions together.
Hello. Dhanya ma'am, thank you very much for your continuous non-stop speech on media, and it is just wonderful. My name is Shyam Sagar. I have a question regarding the news channels, the way they report every day on the mainstream media. Like, you know, I too stopped watching news channels, especially like for a few months, more than a few months or something, only because, you know, every time, like, you know, if they want to make news very entertaining, like, you know, one person from one political party, like, you know.
What's your question, please?
My question is, like, you know, the media, the direction of the media, where it is going now. That is my question, like, you know, because the news that they report every day is, like, you know, one political person abusing other person every time, like, you know, they want to make news entertaining.
Okay, where is the media going now? I got the question.
Is it a good sign or not? That's what my question.
Okay, Dhanya's entire talk was on that.
No, but it's fine, it's fine. Yes, there are more hands. Yes.
The second person who's standing there?
Hello. 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 Can you? Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you so much. Two small questions. Hello.
One.
We can hear you.
Short, very short. Basically, legacy media, generally speaking, the masses believe that, you know, someone, you know, credible is giving the information. On internet, what happens in WhatsApp, Telegram and other places, some news gets forwarded. Intentionally, fake news is forwarded. Eventually, it makes a picture that internet media is unreliable. It is intentionally done. What do you do to build reputation for the internet and internet media? And second thing is that RNA used to, you know, regulate newspapers. INB ministry regulates TV, this thing. From December 2021, internet is going to be regulated because of the presidential order. If you have seen that, you know, nudity and television series, political commentaries, all those things will be regulated. So how do you look at this new presidential order and new ruling which is going to...
We've got that now.
Yeah, thank you.
We haven't come this side for a long time.
Where are the women?
I don't see too many hands.
Yes.
Dhanya, first to thank that your news minute has been the exact thing which we needed to back our facts. And my question now is, your entire talk was more on news channels, but another powerful media which is being influencing is the movies and cinema and the OTT, and how to deal with it. Because that's been completely a conspiracy theory that's been building over the years.
Yes, yes.
If you can address that.
Yeah.
We don't see any women hands anywhere.
Yes, she's there.
Huh? Do
She's there.
you see? Okay,
Yes.
who's the... Yeah. Where's the girl? I don't see.
She's sitting right here.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, there. We have one here.
Oh, she's also there, yes.
My question is, how can independent media ensure diversity of news, and what are the challenges for maintaining independent media?
Okay.
Oh, I'll have to choose one more lady first. There. Lady in the black. Lalita?
See, there's a person wearing a black shirt, there's a person wearing a blue shirt.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten some of the questions. So, okay, I'm writing it down.
Yeah, that was a wonderful speech, Dhanya.
Thank you.
Very nice address. I just wanted to know, how does, I'm sure there's a lot of persecution of independent media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the mainstream media, they have the big bucks, they have the big daddies behind them.
Yes.
So how does independent media handle this scenario?
Yes, okay. Yes.
There's one enthusiastic hand that has been going on for so long, white and blue shirt. Dhanya, is that all?
Yes.
I think we should. That's going to be the last question. I'm sorry.
Thank you, ma'am. You had a wonderful speech altogether, but I just wanted to know, because your whole speech was dedicated to form a binary of independent media and the media that is towards a particular ideology altogether. Considering your media outlet is very young, and I have seen several of your news covers. I mean, in our university as well, I am from University of Hyderabad, and your media has always been covering news that has been happening there. So my question is, considering your outlet is very young, do you have any particular mechanism through which you try to keep your outlet very neutral in character, very neutral in nature? Because, for example, you take 75% of the news which is towards a particular ideology, furthering the agenda of a particular ideology in that sense. Do you have any mechanism? Please emphasize.
Okay. I'll go one by one. Okay. I can hear
running
you.
really late.
Okay, fine. Sure, sure. You want my media to be owned by a politician? Oh, okay. What about the media owned by a politician? Okay, fine. How are you going to compete with? I am just hoping at least 15 of you are just right now opening the newsminute.com and clicking subscribe. What else? Okay, so I'll go one by one. Yes, last. Tell me. The blue shirt. Yes. Sure. Okay. I'll say very quickly all the answers because there's one more speaker. Okay, so where is the media going now was the first question. Where is the media going now? Nobody knows. I mean, in the sense that at one point of time, everybody thought the media is acting in a certain way because it gave them money. But I personally believe that it's not just about money, it's also about ideology now, wherein people are very ideological. Either they are on this side or the center or they are on this side. Therefore, people have chosen sides. We are very polarized and the media is going in that direction. If your question was about why does media have this nonsensical debate in the evening, in fact, the previous speaker was saying there'll be ek anchor or teen guests, but it's actually not ek anchor and teen guests. There are at least 12 guests and one anchor now, because the cheapest way to do news, you just have to have a Zoom or StreamYard or Google Meet connection and have 12 people fighting. So that's the cheapest way of news, which is also entertainment. It's called infotainment and people come for it. Somebody talked about presidential order, legacy media, and that there is going to be control on the digital media, right? Somebody asked the question. I don't know what the presidential order is, but in 2021, the Narendra Modi government brought a digital media rules to India, which basically said that, for example, the News Minute, we have to have 3 tiers. The first is a grievance officer. So if you do not like a news article, you can write to the grievance officer. Now, that's not a problem. You don't like an article, you can send a complaint. Let's say a political party or a movie star's fan club decides they don't like an article and 10,000 of them decide to send an email. I have to send a reply to all 10,000. And I have to have a grievance officer do this job. The second rung is that all news organizations have to be part of associations which will have an entire panel of people who are grievance committee, which includes a former judge, etc. So Digipub has that. Again, cost is added on us. The third tier is the government itself as a committee, and if the government decides that a news is anti-India, anti-national, it is against India's security, they can just block it. They do not have to give you any reason to explanation, which is what they did with this Malayalam channel called Media One. Please do read about it. Sorry? What? Yes, yes. So with Media One, my knowledge is a bit limited here as of now. So yes, Media One was blocked, but it has been brought back because Supreme Court intervened. In fact, the Digital Media Rules 2021, I am the first litigant in the Delhi High Court. I filed a petition against the Digital Media Rules with the Wires Foundation. So we had filed a joint petition. Now there are multiple petitions across courts. Let's see what the court says. Movies, cinema, and OTT. So Telangana is going to have that trouble, right? We have this movie coming up called The Razakars. So nobody has ever whitewashed the Razakars, as far as I know. Nobody has said that the Razakars were throwing rose petals on the road and behaving nicely. Everybody has documented the kind of violence which was there, but what this movie is going to unleash upon you is one side of history which is going to be so amplified without looking at the peasant struggle, without looking at a lot of other history which Hyderabad had at that time. In fact, when the Kerala story, The Love Jihad, released, I went for it first day, first show. I am not even a movie watcher, but I went for it because I feel I had to watch that movie. I mean, I was speaking to someone else today and she told me that I'm not going to watch those movies. I boycott them as policy, as principle. That's also good, but how do we engage with people who are going to watch that movie and tell us, in Kerala, 20,000 girls have gone to Syria and joined the ISIS? So I don't know what the movie is saying, right? Therefore, I have to watch the movie and then counter it. Yes, movies, OTT, and propaganda through that is going to become a huge problem. In the South, I see that problem in Telugu first. It is not creeped into most other languages. So I'm sure you all will have to also think together with us on how to combat propaganda, which is coming through movies and OTT. Persecution of the Indian media. I had an income tax raid and then income tax searches which went on for a day. And after that, for 3 years, we had income tax officials on us who would send us notices almost every 7 days. And this is not an exaggeration. We had an accountant only to reply to the income tax notices, which will ask us, what is 100 rupees? What is this 50 rupees? After 3 years, income tax did not find anything. They closed the case, but nobody is giving a medal for that. So there is a lot of persecution. I just filed my own first defamation case. In fact, I was feeling like achievement unlocked last week because I filed a defamation case against a media reporter who went and filed a police complaint against me saying that I'm a jihadi with funds from Khalistan. This is the police complaint that he sent to the Bangalore Police Commissioner. I'm not at all joking. You can check livelaw.com. They've reported this. And then the police did not call me for questioning because they thought, what is this nonsense complaint? Then the guy filed an RTI asking, why have you not questioned Dhanya? So the police had to call me during the peak of the Karnataka elections. I went to the police station. I gave an explanation. I'm neither a jihadi, nor do I get money from Khalistan, China, Soros, etc., etc. But the policeman had absolute brilliant logic. He said, you are not a Muslim. You can't be a jihadi. So he didn't file an FIR. He didn't file an FIR against me, but I have filed for defamation against 3 right-wing media houses of Kerala and a reporter from a mainstream media house who gave a complaint against me. And I know a lot. I'm just facing very less compared to my counterparts in other parts of India, especially people who work out of Uttar Pradesh. I have a friend, Supriya Sharma. She is the editor of Scroll. She had a FIR against her because she wrote on Yogi, on the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister's constituency. She had to basically ensure that she was not getting arrested. There are so many of my friends, my colleagues, who face really serious cases. Look at Digipub himself. He simply got jailed because he went to Uttar Pradesh. There are so many people, so many media professionals struggling. The Wire, for example, has a lot of cases because of the stories that they wrote on vaccines. In fact, I have a special connection to Hyderabad because the most number of defamation cases I have is in Telangana. Because we wrote about a bureaucrat and a company here. I have a criminal defamation, 3 civil defamations, so which means I have to have a lawyer in Hyderabad, in Malkajgiri, and one more place because that company has filed against me in 3 different places. So you see, this is how you intimidate. The case will never reach anywhere. But the fact that without any resource, I have to actually hire lawyers in 3 district courts and then in the High Court is a lot of money drain for me, right? So next time this is a story about corruption by an officer. Next time my colleague or my reporter brings a story, I'm going to think, should I put the story? Is it worth it? Because I'm going to have 5 different cases in 5 different courts. This is how you intimidate the media, and that is very much going on. Somebody asked me, are you trying to create a binary? How do you become neutral in character? See, first thing, I do not believe in neutrality. I do not believe we should use the word neutrality. Journalists are not neutral. no human is neutral. We all have our biases. Whether it's left, right, center, which movie we like, which movie we do not like, we all have biases. When I wake up in the morning and I see 5 news stories happening and I choose one particular story to cover, that shows my bias. But what should a journalist's bias be? A journalist should be biased towards truth, towards democracy, towards marginalized, towards people whose voices have to be heard. And as long as my bias is that, I do not have to be neutral. I can remain to be biased. Media owned by politicians, that's a curse that our society has to bear. And within that media, will some of them be a bit, I don't want to use the word neutral, but a bit logical? That's the only thing we can expect. But unfortunately, especially in the southern states, we have too many media houses owned by politicians. But thankfully, we're intelligent enough to now know that if you put this channel, this is what he will say. If you put that channel or that newspaper, that is what he's going to say. As long as we, as consumers, can differentiate between that, it's fine. Just 2 more questions and I will wrap it up. What is your association with News Laundry? News Laundry is an organization based out of Delhi, as most of you may know. So we have tied up with News Laundry recently, and we are going to be tying up more with them and with other news organizations. We are also going to be covering the Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, Telangana elections together, and with a lot of other organizations like The Scroll, Caravan, The Wire, etc. So it is our endeavor to come together because we believe that strength is in numbers. We cannot always be acting in silos, so we have been making our efforts to come together. Last question. I'm really going fast because the next speaker is there. The last question, what is my opinion about India saying that they are going to boycott leaders? So when boycott anchors. When I first read that list, I was thinking, why 14? And why this 14? Like, why only this 14? Why not the other 14? That's my first question as a citizen, right? But I do have questions as a citizen. Can boycott be the solution? Now, I am not saying that India Alliance or any political party should or should not boycott. In fact, political parties have been boycotting the media forever. They were just doing it unofficially. Now they made it official. So in a political narrative, does making it look official work well? Perhaps not, because people are going to say that you are against freedom of expression. But my question to the India Alliance really is that you are saying that you are boycotting these news anchors. So what's the big deal? They are going to have people who are sympathetic to the Congress or sympathetic to some other party, and they will come there, they will fight. Your state governments still give advertisements to all these channels. Your advertisements are always on these channels throughout these shows. So if you really mean boycott, then mean it. Do something beyond just this. That is what I would like to tell India Alliance. Thank you very much.